Congratulations, you've just found the #1 over 50 health and wellness podcast on the planet. Hello and welcome to the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert and I'm the founder of The Silver Edge, and I am on a mission to help men and women just like you build lean, strong, healthy, capable bodies that they love for the rest of their lives. In today's episode, I'm joined by none other than the amazing Coach Russell, and we're diving into a topic that's crucial for anyone over 50 who wants to lose weight, get back in shape, and show up as the healthiest, strongest, most vital version of themselves. Today, we'll be discussing the ins and outs of coaching, what makes a good coach truly effective, and what red flags to watch out for when choosing a coach. We'll share personal stories, insights from our own experiences, both as coaches and as clients, and some fun anecdotes along the way. So whether you're currently working with a coach, considering hiring one, or just curious about what makes a coaching relationship successful, this episode is packed with valuable information you don't want to miss. So whip up that protein smoothie, settle in, and let's get started. Hey there, fellow health warriors. Are you feeling stuck on that weight loss roller coaster? Think your metabolism might be throwing a wrench in your progress? If dropping those stubborn pounds feels like climbing Mount Everest, we've got just the thing for you. Head over to silveredgefitness.com and take our super quick metabolism quiz. Just 10 easy questions, under a minute, I promise, and you'll uncover tailored strategies that fit your unique body and lifestyle. This isn't just another quiz, it's your ticket to hopping off the diet hamster wheel and stepping into a life of lean, lasting health. So, if you're curious if your metabolism is playing tricks on you, find out how to turn the tables. Just visit silveredgefitness.com and you'll spot our quiz right at the top of the page. Coach Russell, hey man, welcome to the show.
Hey Kevin, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to have you back. Well, hey man, what's new with you? Anything new going on? I know you just moved.
Yeah, just moved. Had a couple leaks already.
Oh, is that right? So you
Yeah.
already found your first little...
Yeah, a couple little leaks. But,
Always something.
Felt good. You know, even though I'm a renter, I try to keep the landlord out of it as much as I can. Fixed it, and I felt, real,
good for you.
real dad-like fixing that. And
Yeah, that's a
it's
dad
funny.
flex, isn't it?
The last time when I owned a house, I hated doing it, and now that I'm renting, I'm like, well, I don't mind doing it here and there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And then maybe think back to my father. I'm like, that guy was always fixing something. My grandfather and father were always fixing something. And I'm thinking to myself, were our houses that bad back then? And then I started to think about it. My dad got divorced when I was like 13. My parents got divorced when I was 12 or 13. And I've never seen him fix anything after that.
So, is that right?
I think it was just to get away from my mom.
Yeah.
Because I was like, there couldn't have been that much bad stuff going on with the house.
Right. What else needs to be fixed?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you. Out here I'm on a little farm, and it seems like there's always something to do. And I'll tell you what, man, in the summer we're kind of, it's I guess technically still spring, but we're basically into full summer vegetation out here. And just on my little 3 acres, there's like 2 days worth of man hours required, basically weekly, for this place to look amazing.
Yeah.
And I get it looking amazing, but I've got this big badass zero-turn tractor, and of course got my push mower, my weed whacker. But just to get the whole place looking amazing it's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
And so this weekend I wanted the place. So folks know this will come out like a month later. But yesterday was Mother's Day, and I just wanted the place just to look amazing for my wife on Mother's Day. So I really got it looking good. And I'm surprised at how many hours it takes, man. It's like a 2-day thing. And then my dad's got we live down a little dirt lane. My dad's got another, I think it's 12 acres over on the other side. And he had a bunch of stuff he was trying to get done this weekend as well. Speaking of dads and chores, my dad's just always, I think he's done for the day he doesn't have work to do. That's a busy dude. He's 85, and he's just always, that's what's keeping him strong and mobile, is he's just on the farm always doing something. Yeah. But he's like, hey, bud, come help me. I got to move I'm taking some of this metal down to the trash recycling place. Something's too heavy for me to lift. And maybe think of it as you were talking about dads doing chores. He's got he's got this giant flatbed, and it's just loaded with tons of metal already. I'm like, all right, Dad, nice, way to go. So he showed me the couple things that are too heavy, just a couple big pipes and basic things. But he had this chain link fence. It was down on the ground. It's this big old school. It's probably been there for a century. I don't know how long. But it's this big chunk of maybe 6 foot fence, and it's rolled loosely, and it's on the ground. It probably weighs, I don't know, I'm going to guess, it might have been a little over 100 pounds. It was 100-ish pounds, let's call it. But the fact that it's been laying on the ground for quite some time, and there's weeds and crap all grown up through it, and it's dirty and it's gross, there's that, and it's just really heavy and it's really awkward. But have you ever seen that lift where you have a barbell? It's an old school strongman lift. And so the guy gets on one end of the barbell. This is going to be tough for me to explain in podcast land. Bear with me. I'll try and find for the YouTube version of this, and try and find a video of this and put it up while I'm talking about this. But it's where the dude, or dudette, I suppose, lifts one end of the barbell. So if you're imagining you've loaded your barbell, you got a barbell on plates on either side, typically a lot of them, right? Because this is a strongman event. Then you walk around to one end of the barbell and you pick it up. Right, so you're like deadlifting one end of the barbell, so that the other end's now digging into the ground, and then you're just going to kind of lever it forward. So now I've got the barbell; it's like at a 45 or more degree, and then the guy gets.
Oh yes, I have.
Like this, straightens himself out, and then back, and then squats it up.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I got this. Sort of. I didn't get it on my back. So you know what a Zercher squat is, right? Where you have in the crook of your arms, the barbell, and when that gets heavy, that's rather uncomfortable.
It
but
hurts,
super uber practical, right? Yeah. Well, so that's what I did. I got this chain link fence. I got up kind of some of the dirt and crap and vines out of it. I lifted one end of it up, then got my arms underneath it. So now I'm in this Zercher squat, stood it up into a Zercher squat, waddled over to the flat bed and just gave it a big heave ho up onto there. So yeah, I got a good workout. Got to do some strongman lifts, sort of. But it made me think. I have done Zercher lifts in the past. I've never done that crazy get underneath the barbell.
No, I haven't done that either.
Do you know what that's called?
I do not. I've seen it a few times, but I do not know what it's called.
I should have Googled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it to Google it.
It's really difficult. Yeah. So people are probably wondering what the hell I'm talking about. They're like, what? I've completely lost you. Yeah. I should Google that and see what the name of that is. But anyway, it got me thinking, would you ever try that lift?
Obviously, when I was younger, I would have tried
doing a commercial gym, I think.
Yeah, exactly. They would all be looking at you, or when you fail, it'd be an epic fail. But when I was younger, with weights, of course, me being dumb and young. But now being older, I would try it bar first, 5 pounds on each end, 10 pounds, right? Like go increments, because I'm like, okay, I don't need to end up in a hospital.
Oh, that's funny.
It's not the end goal.
I thought I was thinking next time I go to the gym, maybe I'll throw a couple 45s on either side and just see what happens. But I like your idea better.
You think of to get the leverage up. That's a lot of work. Even with
straightening.
Even with 45s.
Yeah, folks are trying to envision what we're talking about. If you imagine a barbell at this angle where one end is, say, 6 feet in the air and the other end is on the ground. There's weight on this barbell, and you're going to shimmy underneath it so that the barbell is across your shoulders behind your head. So it's but you're bent at a crazy angle, and then you're going to straighten your trunk out so that you're now, because you'd be squatting to get underneath there. So you're now in just basically the bottom of a barbell back squat, and then you're going to stand it up, which I would imagine after doing all the rest of that is probably, that's normally the hard part of a squat. That's probably the easy part of this squat. But at any rate, I don't know if I'll try it or not. It does sound like a good way to either have an epic fail or get yourself hurt. Maybe I will try it with an empty barbell. But it's just, after doing that, it seemed kind of like a fun thing.
Yeah, we don't need you broadcasting from a hospital.
No, I probably don't need it. Yeah,
I just tried a couple ways. I just tried a couple ways of looking it up, and of course, it just comes up with regular squat. I don't know. So I don't know what it's called. It's pretty interesting.
I would guess it has a name. Yeah. Anyway.
You think of it almost like windmill type of action, getting that up.
Sure is. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
I mean, there's some serious core strength involved in straightening that up. Yeah. And that's a plane of movement that most of us don't really work in, right? That super, as in terms of strength, that just straightening that trunk up from the side. You know, I see the guys in the gym will hold maybe a 45-pound plate or a dumbbell and do those side bends, but that's not really the same thing.
No, that wouldn't even be close.
Much more functional thing.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
All right, we're looking.
All right,
you got a video.
So yeah, that was fun this week.
You got a video it though. That's the only caveat.
There's a deal. If I try it, and I'm not saying I'm going to, but if I try this lift, I will in fact video it. I'm trying to think. I guess the best place to do it's my Globo gym. We have the big bumper plates, but there's not very many people. I think the ideal place to do that. Maybe I've had some friends that own a CrossFit gym. In fact, that's where Monica and Jess work, and that's where I used to when I was a CrossFit coach. That's where I coached as well. That's the place to try that because people, they're not going to care if you fail spectacular. They're not going to care if you drop a big heavy barbell on the ground, right? A loaded barbell. And they would probably appreciate you doing some wacky looking lifts like that. I'm not sure the Globo gym is ready for that yet.
They'll write it into their next programming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, all right. So if you're one of our clients, don't be surprised if you see this in your next training block there, folks. I might start getting you guys super strong here. Old school strong.
Strongman lift.
Strongman lifts.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Russell, before we get, we're going to have some fun talking about good coach, bad coach today. But before we get there, I have a question for you, man. Are you a book guy or are you a movie guy? Both, which is a legit answer.
More movie. I'm trying to get more back into books, but the only time I was really into books was when I was in the Coast Guard and I was out to sea for 3 months and had nothing to do.
That's what you had.
So it was like prison. I read a lot of books. I was surprised.
What were you reading?
Books. Anything I can get my hands on, but mostly I like the crime
fiction.
Yeah, crime fiction, and then
or true crime.
More true crime. Yeah, because my movies that I like are documentaries. I really love a documentary.
Oh, really? So you're a documentary guy?
Yeah,
so
of any kind.
I mean, like Netflix, for example, has got tons of that kind of stuff. Is that kind of your go-to?
Yeah, I love a documentary.
Huh?
It could be about anything too, food or.
You don't care, just a good documentary?
A good documentary, yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any favorite movies? You got if I said, hey, top 3 all time, what you got for me?
Oh, Shawshank.
Or you're not that kind of guy.
Shawshank
Redemption.
Yep, I could watch that 832 times.
All right.
Same with Goodfellas.
That's a good one.
Probably seen that thousands and thousands of times. And then this is an old one, not that old of a comedy, but Friday. The movie Friday. Chris Tucker, Ice Cube.
Yes, I do remember that.
One
that is kind of.
I just love that one. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 that I go to. So 3 little different.
So none of those are obviously documentaries.
No.
But, so you're the kind of guy that can watch the same movie over and over again, right?
Yeah, I could watch the same one.
Likewise. Yeah. It drives my wife nuts.
Yeah.
I will watch the same movie. I've watched my favorite movies like you on repeat. Just absolutely love them. Yeah. Some of them I just can't get enough of it. If you're on YouTube, you might see back and see if I'm pointing right there. My son actually painted that for me for my 60th birthday. So my top movies are going to be Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. So that's a little bit kind of fringy, but it's a Wes Anderson movie. And I am a huge Wes Anderson fan, especially all of his early stuff. I own it all on Blu-ray. I'd still have a Blu-ray player, but of course everything now is available to stream. But absolutely, absolutely love that movie. Another one of my all-time favorites. That's either 1 or 2, depends on my mood. My other all-time favorite movie is Repo Man. Now it turns out there's 2 movies. There's one I think is called The Repo Man, which is apparently I've never seen it, but it's completely different. But what I'm talking about is the one with Harry Dean Stanton and Emilio Estevez in it.
Yeah, that's the one I'm
absolutely fabulous. It comes from that that punk rock kind of scene. And fabulous soundtrack, by the way. I'm not really currently into punk, but I spent I had a little foray back in my youth where punk was the jam. Then I kind of moved over into the more that hardcore scene. But Iggy Pop does the theme song for that, which is just lights out badass. I'm a big Iggy Pop fan. And here's a fun fact. That movie, Repo Man, the executive producer on that was Michael Nesmith. And now for folks out there in our age bracket are going, Michael Nesmith, why does that name sound familiar? It's because he was one of the original Monkees.
Yeah.
You remember the Monkees?
Yeah.
Hey, we're the Monkees. Yeah, man, he was one of the Monkees. So
that's funny.
I don't know what he's done since the Monkees. I don't know what any of the Monkees really have done since the Monkees, but that certainly was a big part of my youth was the Monkees, and knowing that he was involved in that project, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've actually seen that movie. I'm going to check out Life Aquatic. I've heard of it, and now that I popped it up and
Love it. Yeah, so Wes
the...
Anderson has got Bill Murray's in almost all of his movies. So he has these collection of actors that kind of follow him from one movie to the next. I mean, they're not continuation movies. They're all completely different. And if anybody's like, hey, maybe I'll check out some of these Wes Anderson movies, start from the beginning or go early. Don't watch a couple of his later ones. He got kind of weird here lately, and it seems like his movies are almost like a character of himself or something. They got a little weird for me personally, but man, those early movies, so great. And Life Aquatic, one of my absolute favorites. So really dig it. So I said
kind of like Christopher
Life
Guest.
Aquatic.
I'm sorry. Kind of like Christopher Guest that uses the same actors in all his movies. Yeah.
Yes, and all those.
I'm gonna have to check that. I'm gonna definitely check that.
Mighty Wind, Waiting for Guffman.
Yes.
Yeah. Best in Show. All that fun
That's
stuff.
One of my favorites.
Fabulous stuff. And then Russell, here's. If I were told I had to pick 3 favorite movies, I'm not sure what my third one would be, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. My third would be any James Bond movie ever.
Oh yeah.
So that's that's one of my secrets, I guess. I'm a James Bond nerd. I love them all. I had a few years back, my wife bought me this deluxe box set of Blu-ray DVDs. Again, when I watch a James Bond movie, I stream it. I don't break that out, but I own all of those. absolutely love them. So
that's awesome.
And I'll go all the way back to 1962, Dr. No, and sometimes I will just watch them sequentially. Even those crappy ones with Pierce Brosnan, and those of you that are Pierce Brosnan fans, I apologize. And Timothy Dalton, he did 2 of them. They just weren't that good. I'm sorry. He was not the best Bond, but there are. In the Bond world, people argue over all the time who's the best Bond. And believe it or not, there are subsets, little pockets of people where Timmy Dalton, he's the best one, or Pierce, he's the best one. So, at any rate, there you go. So we're not here to talk about movies or books, I guess. We're here to talk about coaching. How about that for transition? Russell, I thought we'd have some fun. You brought this up last time we were talking about, hey man, let's do an episode on what makes a good coach, what makes a bad coach. So I don't know what the title of this episode's going to be yet, but it's probably going to be something along the lines of good coach, bad coach, or how to tell a good coach from a bad coach. Yeah. So let's start here. And when we say coach, because we do nutrition coaching, we do lifestyle coaching, we do personal training coaching, exercise coaching. So we do all of that here at the Silver Edge. So when we say coach, we're going to lump them all together, right? Nutrition coaches, personal trainers, lifestyle, healthy habit coaches, all that fun stuff. So I thought we'd have some fun with this. Do we want to do good qualities first, or do we want to do red flags, things to look out for first?
I think red flags would be a good way to start off.
All right, let's have some fun with the red flag ones, because you and I we've both been a coach for a long time. We've both been coached for a long time, so we can kind of talk about things that we've seen that we love in coaches, things that we see maybe not so much. So let's start with a maybe not so much, and folks, these would be red flags if you're looking for a coach. You see these things, maybe question them. All right, Russell, you go first. What's a red flag for you?
A big one is just right off the bat, they're just not listening to what I want or what's good for me type of thing. Almost the, one direction coach, like everyone's going to be trained this way. Everyone's going to do this way. And you can kind of see it, right? Well, now that I'm a coach, I could see it better than when I first started. Yeah. Yeah. So that was
So that's our cookie cutter coach.
Yeah, cookie
Is that
cutter.
a good?
Yeah,
Is that a good way of saying it?
That's a
Cookie
great
cutter
one,
coach.
yeah.
They have a program, and by God, you're going to fit into it.
Yep.
This is the way we do things here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
no,
it worked for
that's
me.
a really
and,
good one.
Yeah.
And we can almost separate those two things, right? So we have the cookie cutter. I learned this formula. You're going to go through this because that's what the way I was taught, or regardless of where you are, right? And then we have that, hey, this worked for me. And that's pretty common. And I think that nutritionally, we almost see nutrition as a religious war these days. Be vegan, be carnivore, be keto, be intermittent fasting. And I think what happens is because we're all so individual, and some of the new genetic research coming out is supporting that the optimal diet for me might not look anything like the optimal diet for you, right?
Sure.
That you look at the two of us, we're roughly the same age, same kind of size, same activity level maybe, yet we could have vastly different diets that are optimal. And when I say optimal, I mean optimal for our longevity or for our body composition or for our performance, right? So what works for me, maybe I have, let's just take a very obese person who's lost a ton of weight, and they did it, let's just say, by getting rid of carbs, right? Very, very popular, very common. And so they become convinced that, oh, okay, I found the magic. Let me share this with everybody. And they become a coach. They get a nutrition coaching certification, but they've gone into it already knowing the answer. I need to start. Let me get through this because I know what the answer is. I know what I'm going to tell people. It's to not eat carbs, go keto or something along those lines, right? And similarly for somebody who found success, maybe using intermittent fasting or any other one of these things. Veganism is another very popular one. And then that's their methodology, right? And now, look, going low carb or extremely low carb or even keto might work for some people, and it might be lifelong sustainable for some people, but probably not for everybody. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Just like you said earlier, we're almost similar, and and we probably eat totally different from each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different. Yeah. And, it's because it's a little more nuanced and a little bit tricky, because it's not what your average person wants to hear. Look, I just want that simple answer. What should I eat?
Just tell me to stop eating this and I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Tell me this. Yes. Mm-hmm. Tell me that one easy thing, or don't eat before noon. Just do this one trick. Yeah. Maybe not. All right. So I like that. That's a good one. You kind of got this one size fits all cookie cutter coach. Yeah. And then we got the it works for me. Yeah. So you do it. And I think similarly on the exercise, you get these, this is more of a younger thing, but some of those young bros or those young ladies that are just diced up and really, really ripped. And they're like, okay, well, what you need is, no pain, no gain, 6 days a week, body part splits, hour and a half at a time in the gym, and let's get after it, right? Because that's what worked for me. And if you look at the guy, usually kid or gal, young lady, they look incredible, and clearly what they're doing works for them. But maybe if you just lifted that and tried to impose that on 55-year-old Mrs. Smith, who just wants to lose 20 pounds and get back in shape, probably not going to end well, right?
No,
so,
yeah.
Couple of good red flags there. I would say one of my red flags is going to be a coach who doesn't thoroughly ask about your goals.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in fairness, because I'm going to throw my first coach, my first personal trainer, my first couple of them, I'm going to throw them under the bus completely. We're not naming names. I don't remember their names. But to give them credit, those first couple of coaches awkwardly tried to ask me what my goals were. And at the time, by the time I finally wandered into a Globo gym, I was less overweight, much more skinny fat, and very, very, very weak, like pathetically weak. And I was really insecure. And so when this big, in my case, a big buff dude was saying, hey man, what are your goals? I didn't want to tell him I wanted to be swollen jack, because that was embarrassing to me. I probably muttered, I don't even remember what I said, but it had nothing to do with what I really wanted. And the kid just, he was a kid. I think he wrote it down on his clipboard or something. He just moved right along, right? Then he got canned a few months in, or a couple months in, and had a new guy, and he kind of, I don't have the notes, he kind of sort of did the same thing. Hey, what are your goals? And I was like, well, I just, I'd like to get fit and get in shape. Okay, right on, man, you're in the right place. More of a rah-rah kind of thing. Yeah. But didn't really take the time to understand my goals. Now, later on, I had coaches who said, what are your goals? And if I tried to give them something, I'd just like to get strong and fit, they're like, Okay, well, hang on. What do you mean?
Yeah. No.
Are your goals performance? I mean, when you say strong, do you mean you want to deadlift a certain amount of weight? You want to compete? When you say fit, what do you mean? You want to look a certain way? Do are you looking to lose fat? You're looking to build muscle? What specifically do you mean? And I was like, oh, well, hang on. I guess I really haven't given that very much thought. And let's give that some thought. Let's do that. So I think a coach that understands, that's curious about your goals and is willing to meet you where you are is the desirable side. And I think that the red flag side of that is the coach that doesn't or just gives lip service to what are your goals. I think most coaches are taught to ask that question. Well, what do you want? What are your goals? But digging beneath a little bit. I know in one of my nutrition certifications, Precision Nutrition, one of the things they drill into their coaches is the 5 whys. Why do you want to lose this weight? Oh, well, because if you ask somebody that, they're probably not going to give you a raw emotional answer. No. And the heavier you are, the less likely you are to get a raw emotional answer. And then, so when they tell you their reason, well, I'd like to be a little bit healthier. And the doctor says I should lose some weight, so I think that would be a good thing. Well, why is that important to you? And you start to strip back the layers, and regardless of what they say, you're going to ask them why. And the idea is you're asking why 5 times to get to this raw, more emotional core desire that they have. So most people, myself included, when we talk about why do you want change, it's very oftentimes it's rooted in some kind of insecurity. So when somebody says, "Hey, Kev, why do you care about having muscles? Why do you care about being jacked?" Well, it's going back to this childhood insecurity that I still haven't managed to work myself all the way through. I'm a work in progress, right? And that's part of the reason. Now, I've matured a lot since those early days, but really, when that big jack dude coach said, "Hey, Kev, what are your goals?" It's, man, I want to look like you. If I'd had the cojones to come out and say that's at the core. And why would that be important? Well, I feel insecure about being weak and being kind of flabby. And I live at the beach. I have to take off my shirt and I'm embarrassed to get undressed in front of my wife. That's what I wanted. But there was no way I was going to tell that kid that. And there was no way he was capable. He just wasn't trained in trying to dig that a little bit. So I think that's a red flag. If your coach isn't really digging into your why, I would question that coach. Yeah. What do you think about that?
100%. It's easy to give the vague answer and just go off of that because it's an easy program for me to write. Like, all right, he just wants this, and I don't know the real reason, or I don't know what the real cause is. Another one I was going to bring up was they don't learn about you. So more of like a background into you. So my favorite things to ask are, dieting questions, like how long they've been on it, what have they done before, how long they've been on it, what have they tried before, what didn't they like if they had another coach, those type of things. But my main one too is, what's your household look like? So, if your wife and 3 kids, and the main reason I ask that is I want to see if they're supportive, and because it's a big step, right? Like if I'm trying to dial in my fitness and nutrition, and then my wife and kids are just going haywire with everything, they're not supportive. They're going to be like, "Oh, you look great. Have a, come over here and do this and do that." So
right.
It takes a whole, household to, kind of change some habits.
Yeah, that's a really good red flag. So if a coach doesn't understand your social dynamics, your family dynamics, I know we specifically ask that of all our clients on their intake form so that our coaches can kind of pick that apart when they do their onboarding. But you're exactly right. The unfortunate truth is not everybody's going to support a healthy journey, right? So if one spouse says, "Hey, I'm tired of being overweight, I'm going to do something completely different," and the other spouse is like, again, back to that insecurity, like, well, what will happen? How will that change the dynamic of our relationship? And that could put pressure on that person maybe to change, or it could cause that person to push back, or to even subconsciously maybe kind of sabotage, like you're saying, "Hey, you can have this cheesecake, you can do this, it's okay."
It kind of helps us to know
understanding.
It kind of helps us to know what we're working with, right? So,
100%.
And then To add on to that is work, because work's a major part of your life. So I want to know about your work. I want to know about your work schedule, your stresses there. A funny one for me was when I was a detective, I had a coach during this time, and I got called out to a homicide, and it was, I was up for 36 hours or something crazy like that. And I wrote the coach and said, hey, I'm not going to make the gym today. And he didn't even ask why. Like I said, I didn't make the gym today because I've been up for 36 hours working a case. And he just bashed into me like, that's no excuse and this and that. I'm thinking to myself, wow. Obviously,
there's a red flag.
I was old enough to know better. I was like, nah, I'm not going to the gym. Nothing's going to be done correctly here. So just ignored it. And
at that point, you're probably going to do more harm than
way
good.
more harm.
I've had a couple of my clients. I'm thinking, shout out to Greg, an amazing client, just graduated her program, but trauma surgeon, right? Been up, similar kind of, these you guys that are first responders that are in these intense situations, they had up all night, haven't slept, really, really intense. And I skipped the gym and I'm like, man, that is exactly the best thing you could do. Not only is it acceptable, it's probably preferable, right? You're certainly not going to build any muscle or take steps forward at that point in your life. So yeah, being able to understand, I think, clients' overall support system, their stresses in life, whether that's family stress, whether that's work stress, social stress, etc. Because we need to know all that stuff, right? In order to be good coaches. Here's one of my favorite red flags. So another bad coach one. Early on, my first couple of personal trainers were very much just let's go to this machine and we're just going to do something very unique. Very often we'd use a machine the way it wasn't designed to be used. So which would be okay. There's no bad exercises if they're done correctly and dosed appropriately and programmed professionally. That would be fine. But it was just willy-nilly. Every time I went in, we did a whole different routine. And it was almost like he was trying to entertain me.
Yes.
Or show off all his, hey, this is a fun exercise, isn't it? I said, yeah, it is. And look, was I moving in planes of, was I getting stronger? Probably, just because I had nowhere to go but up. Yeah. But just doing something different, just the novelty became more entertainment than actually professional. There was no professional programming, is what I'm saying. I think that's a red flag.
I think that's one of the big things I get. When I program something, they're like, "Oh, it's really kind of basic," and I'm like, "Yeah,
it's boring.
Weight training
it
is boring and basic.
Yes.
It's not. You shouldn't be balancing on a ball, holding a barbell over your head, and doing flips. I mean, it looks cool on Instagram, but it's not going to do you a bit of good. That is funny when you do see that. I notice when I see seasoned people who are, really jacked and built, and they'll be doing something different. I'm like, okay, that's appropriate for them. Probably they're working on some
correct,
very minute little detail they're trying to chisel out. But for the average person, it's not necessary. Yeah, I love that one. That's a great one. He probably had you doing all kinds of crazy stuff on the machines.
All kinds of crazy stuff, and I just recently saw a very, an unconditioned looking guy, a new person at the gym, and the trainer was taking him around, and just a couple of the things that they were doing just made me shake my head. But the really funny one was what the landmine is. If you don't know, a landmine's where you take a barbell and you attach it into this swivel thing that's anchored in the floor. So then you're on one end of the barbell, and you do a lot of really good practical things with the landmine. Landmine's a great exercise. And this guy had this new, fairly unconditioned looking dude holding the barbell up over his head and doing reverse curtsies, I think you call it, where you sweep the one leg back behind you and go towards the which again, look, that's I'm not saying that's a very functional type exercise, I suppose, but for somebody who's brand new to the gym, I'm not sure reverse curtsy overhead landmines where I'm starting, right? I'm probably starting somewhere else, maybe some more basic type things. But again, if it seems like your trainer is more just interested in the novelty aspect, and look, if maybe that dude went into the gym and said, hey, show me some stuff I've never seen before, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, and so maybe the trainer's doing exactly what the dude asked him to. But so That's a red flag for me if you see that your coach is just constantly mixing things up and is doing things that don't seem boring and basic and repetitive, because that's the trick.
Yeah.
That's the secret, is to be consistent. So yeah, that's one of my bad coach red flags. What else you got for us, Russell?
Thinking food related, so a big red flag for me would be, oh man, I just destroyed some Oreos this weekend, and the coach will, chastise you or beat you up over it. Well, that's not helping me for the next time I want to go destroy the Oreos, or when we part ways, I don't have you to yell at me. So my favorite is to figure out why. Like, well, what happened? What led up to that? And then we could pick apart that and maybe figure out why, like why we did whatever we did with that. So yeah, that's a big red flag with me when it's just like, no,
same.
You went off the plan. Like, what's going on?
The shame. I'll add to that. So the version of that over on the personal trainer side might be the no pain, no gain side, which is very common with like more of the younger crowd, I think, than the older crowd. Although I see some older fitness dudes out there that very much are the no pain, no gain, go hard, no days off sort of thing. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. But yeah, definitely your coach should not be your coach is there to hold you accountable and to be honest, not to sugarcoat things, but not to bash you or make you feel bad. And Coach Russell's exactly right. That the idea of how did you get in this situation? What happened, right? What were the events leading up to that? And the idea being is, okay, if we can rewind, so here basically you had yourself in this situation. In the future, what might you do differently before you got to where you find yourself standing in the pantry just wolfing a sleeve of Oreos? Because by that time, you're there. And then I think the other thing is really important is the coach. You want a supportive coach who's going to say, okay, look, done. Mm-hmm. Let's just start again. We're starting over. Today's today. We're not trying to make up for that. We're just starting back on the plan. Let's move forward and let me encourage you.
I think of it helped me out when I had a good coach that actually dug into that. Was like, oh my God, I do have these triggers that get me, and stress is obviously one of it. So now I know when I'm stressed to kind of focus more. Like, all right, let's be focused on what we're doing here, especially if I'm trying to lose weight or, on a goal to do something. And the other one is, I love this one, is, so I've been a cop for many years, retired now, but I still have those cop instincts. So if I go to a party, I survey the room to see who I'm going to take out if something happens, who the problem child's going to be. I don't know. I hate it.
Where are the exits?
So what I do is I back myself against the corner or wall, and that's what I do. And I know I do it. It takes me a little while to warm up. And usually it's next to the food table. So while I'm doing my surveillance, I'm eating everything in there. Yeah. So now I know, hey, if I go to a party, I stay far. I'll do my goofy surveillance thing, but I'll do it from the other side of the food table. So I'm not, so it's just little things like that. So I know better, like when I go into a situation like that. But yeah, that was always a big one for me. It's like, why did you do that? Let's figure out why. And sometimes, you ate a sleeve of Oreos. Let's just roll on. Let's go further.
That's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. So.
Right. Yeah. I think another red flag for me is the promise of fast results. And look, we all want fast results, myself included. Yeah. We all want them. So it's hard. It's almost hard to fault the consumer for hey, lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks, or do just let's, whatever the protocol is, rapid fat loss, get those gains, do this for whatever it is. And while that's easy to market, easy to sell, and in some cases it can be easy to deliver on. It's usually not. But in some cases, if I say, hey, I'm going to get you to drop 10 pounds this month, I could probably do that regardless of your starting position.
Yeah, we all could.
But I probably shouldn't.
No,
and you shouldn't allow me to, because it's not a good idea. And it's definitely 100%, it's not lasting change. It's temporary change. So I think that lose weight now, lose weight fast, these rapid dramatic transformation programs, while some are completely ineffective, some have more, are more effective than others. None of them are effective for long-term permanent change. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately, as much as we all, myself included, would like for that to be the case. It just isn't. So I think that's a red flag, is that over-promising of rapid results. Yes.
Yep. I'll go another one. Going outside your scope of, so, I'm really fascinated with bodybuilding and bodybuilders, but I've never done a show. I've never learned. I mean, I can get somebody cut, ripped looking, but as far as ready for a bodybuilding show, I'm far out of my practice. Yeah. And I've had people approach me about that. And I said, I wouldn't be the best coach for you. I think you should go here or there or, somewhere else. Same thing with I think the ability to say no to money is a good quality to have, especially if you're going far out your scope of what you do, right. So that would be a big one for me.
No, I agree and that's a good one. And I think that it could be tempting to, like you said, if we're in a business, we want clients, right? So if somebody came to us for something that we aren't particularly, if somebody came to us and said, hey, I got a wedding, I just want to drop 20 pounds in the next, my wedding's in 3 months. Can you do it? Yeah, I suppose we could, but that's not our jam. That goes against our entire philosophy. That would be a client that we'd be better either referring out or just generally saying, oh, sorry, we're not a good fit for you. Yeah. We've done a good job of that, right? We've not allowed anybody, more or less, we've done a good job. I think most of the people that come into our program, they've listened to our podcast, or maybe they've done some research on some other stuff we have. They're on our email list or something, right? So they get our jam and they know the types of clients that we work with. But we don't work with everybody. We're not... we don't work with people that have hundreds of pounds to lose. If somebody came into our program and really wanted to try it, we would have to almost say, hey, this is an experiment, really, because it's not what we specialize in. There are people who specialize specifically and don't work with our clients, but do work with clients that have 100, 200, 300 pounds to lose. Yeah. So, I think knowing your area of expertise and having an area of expertise, not being all things to everybody, right? Whereas we very commonly say, hey, we work with 50 and 60-year-olds that want to lose 10 to 50 pounds. That's pretty narrow. Yeah. We just cut out, all the youngins. We cut out all the people. A big portion. Right. Do we have some 40s and 70-year-olds clients? Yeah, occasionally. But most of our people are 50s, 60s, 10, 20, 30 pounds. And look, we've had, I know Coach Monica's worked with a heavier guy that's had dramatic success with her. So there are a couple of outliers, but for the most part, we specialize in something. We are very specific and particular about people meeting that. So I think that's a good one.
Definitely.
In terms of red flag to watch out for. So I don't know that I have any more red flags other than, it should be, your coach should be somebody that you can relate to, that you like. Your coach should be likable. You should like your coach. You should relate to your coach. You shouldn't be intimidated by your coach. You should feel free to express yourself and not worry about, not worry about being belittled or made fun of or anything like that. So I think that's another thing, just that relatability. We love working with people in our age group because we are that age group. We have similar life experiences. Mm-hmm. We can relate to men and women in this age. So yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. And I guess one way of saying this is everything we just said is a red flag. The opposite
switch it around.
Is a good. But yeah, what makes a good coach? Russell, just in general, in your experience of having coaches, what's something in common of that all your good coaches had?
It seemed like they cared about me.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I love that one.
Yeah. That was a big one.
Probably more important than what they know is know that they care.
Yeah, that was a big one for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just knowing they had my best interest. Right.
Yeah.
Instead of sometimes we do come in, hey, I want 6-pack abs, I want this and I want that. And then when we learn about you and learn about everything that's going on, we're like, okay, is that really what you want? So, we're digging more into that. I understand that, we all come into it saying we want, like you said, the fast results and this and that. But it's important for a good coach to say, well, let's talk about what this means, what this entails, and are we in a good spot for that? That, and I think too, this goes on the other end as far as a client. To be a good client, you got to be able to communicate with us too. I think we've all had those clients.
Yeah, full honesty, transparency.
Yeah, where it's like talking to a wall sometimes, and you're like, all right, to get more out of me, you gotta, give me a little more. I don't. This isn't again, it's not a cookie cutter program. So the more I know about you, the better off we can make great results. And I think that's a big 100%. Thing too. I think, which goes back to your first trainer, right? Like, you didn't give him anything to work off of. I don't know if he would have. I don't know if he would have, but maybe if you gave a little more, then because honestly, we talked about this before. The gym environment is probably one of the most friendliest places. It gets the worst reputation.
But it can also it gets the worst reputation.
Yeah, you're just thinking,
one of the most intimidating places too.
It's funny that even being in the gym for as long as I have, there was this dude. He was humongous the other week in my gym, like just a monster of a guy, tattoos everywhere. Looked like the guy you didn't want to cross. And I grabbed something, of his. He was about to grab it, and we almost fought on who was going to take. Like, no, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. It was just funny because I was like, oh God, that's not the reaction I thought I would get. I thought it would be like bowling me over,
right?
So. Yeah. So even with coaches, you should be somebody you should be able to. But then again,
your coach should want you to win, right?
Yeah.
Your coach should be on your side, want you to win, and be invested.
Exactly.
And really care.
Exactly. So I think that's a big one.
I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
We just so people know, this is not scripted. Russell and we got on the call and we're like, what are we going to talk about today? Just so you know. But when it comes to a good coach, I'm so glad you led with that, because as you're saying it, I'm thinking that's actually the most important thing, because your coach, table stakes, should be certified, right? You should have a nationally recognized certification, whatever it is you're doing, right? So all our coaches are certified nutrition coaches as well as certified personal trainers. So if you have a personal trainer, that's the table stakes. But really, when we talk about what are the qualities of a good coach, I think that's such a great place to start. Does your coach care? Is it obvious that your coach cares? Is your coach enthusiastic? Do they want you to win? Are they on your side? And can you tell that clearly? Is such a good place to start with. What am I looking for in a coach? Because for the new person looking, might be like, well, does this person really know the intricacies of the movement pattern of the deadlift as the load gets heavy? And they should know that, right? But it's almost like when you select a doctor, right? I chose my current doctor based on more lifestyle things. This is obviously it's a guy. He's a dude. He lifts. He's strong. Yeah. He takes care of it. He's got obviously a similar life outlook. So I didn't grill him on his credentials. Where'd you go to medical school? What are your thoughts on treating this disease versus this modality? I don't know any of that. Yeah. Right? I'm more interested in his bedside manner. And
even if he gave,
maybe that's not the best way to judge or to select a doctor, but
even if he gave you an answer, right? You wouldn't know what it was.
That's probably yes.
That would be me. I would be like, what about this? And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm asking. Yeah.
Check. Yeah. I think another thing for a good coach is and we've said this in the opposite way just a few minutes ago, I suppose, but they're willing to meet you where you are, right? Mm-hmm. They're willing to, you're not going to boil the ocean. They're willing to, with integrity and honesty and maybe tough love, if that's what's required, to step you in small progressive steps from where you are today to where you want to go. And they're not going to try and boil the ocean or try and get you to immediately jump way outside of your comfort zone. But that whole concept of, okay, this is where you are today, no judgment, let's go, let's do this, and here's where we're going to start. And again, a lot of you are surprised when you see just how boring and basic some of those steps are. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. No,
we're not doing goofy workout protocols. We're not cutting out your carbs. We're not telling you to go on a drastic diet. In fact, we're doing the opposite quite often. So I think that's an important one as well.
Yeah, the Best ones are boring.
The best ones are boring. Yeah.
The best way to move the needle is the boring way, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Best way is the boring way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of gimmicky things out there, and that's what grabs attention. That's what sells. That's, I've often lamented that we've sort of painted ourselves into this marketing corner where what we're selling is a really tough sell.
Oh,
Let me get this straight, Kevin. So your marketing position is that you're not going to lose as much weight with using my program as the next guys. You're not going to lose it as fast. And first thing you're going to do has nothing to do with losing weight. You're actually going to work on metabolic restoration, whatever that means. Is that really your pitch? I'm like, yeah. Do you want to sign up now? And people are like, really? That's your pitch? I'm like, yeah. So it is a harder sell. It would be much, much easier for us to come out and say, hey, we have a unique spin on the intermittent fasting that nobody's ever thought of. We have this proprietary supplement that you take, and man, you are going to burn fat while you sleep. We have the 6 weeks. We guarantee you'll lose X number. That would be a really easy thing to sell.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, that's.
I follow this guy.
Unfortunately,
I follow this guy on Instagram, and he drives me nuts. Everything we talk about, he does the exact opposite. He's like, I only slept 3 hours, but I'm up at 3 a.m. to work out, and
getting after it. Yeah.
Started off with a quick 9-mile run, and I'm like, a quick 9-mile run. Then went into some crazy, like, box jumping, into all this other mobility stuff. Then I did a strict 5x5, heavy bench, heavy squat, and I'm like, what's funny is there was a point where he passed out one time because his face was all cut up.
It's not David Goggins, is it?
No, it's a guy.
No, because he's pretty hardcore. He's kind of the same. Yeah.
It was a guy who's actually a New York City detective, and he claims to be the hardest working detective, which I hope he has the easiest detective gig ever, because detective life is pretty stressful. So if you're doing all this, and you could tell he's chemically enhanced, we'll put it that way.
Right.
So it's just a total wrong message.
Get a little help with his
recovery
out there. Yeah.
But one part he passed out and his face was so he was on the camera and he's like, yeah, I had this episode, and I'm like, well, I wonder why.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too healthy.
No. So yeah, I think yeah, you're right. It is a really hard sell to say, hey, take care of yourself for a lifetime.
Yeah, take care of yourself for a lifetime. Yeah, do boring things and do them consistently for the rest of your
consistently,
life. It's a tough sell.
That's the key word.
Consistently.
Consistently.
Yeah. You want permanent change, you're going to change things permanently. Yeah.
I can do that guy's workout, but it's going to be inconsistent as all can be, right? Like, I'm going to go hard for 2 months, and then I'm going to pass out for 3, and then go hard again for 2 months.
Or get injured. So, right.
Yes, injured. Yeah.
100%. Yep. All righty. Well, let's leave it here, Russell. That was fun. Let's do this. Here's our call to action. If you're somebody who's got an experience with a coach, either an amazing coach or a not so amazing coach, if you've got any kind of experience, love to hear it. Share with us. You can, if you're not already a member, get over to Facebook. Hopefully, or if you're a Facebooker, get over to the Over 50 Lean Body Blueprint. That's our private Facebook group. It's free to join. You just have to answer a couple of questions to get in. But get over in there and share with us. Tell us, have you had an amazing coach experience? Have you had a not so amazing coach experience? Or if you have questions about, hey, I'm looking at this coach or this program, what do you guys think? Feel free to put your questions in there. We'd love to interact with you over there.
Yeah, definitely.
All righty, Russell. Well, let's wrap this thing up, man. Really appreciate you coming on the show, co-hosting with me today. Always a good time when we get together, and maybe I'll go rewatch one of those movies here in a little bit.
Yeah, I got a movie to watch now, so Life Aquatic.
Yeah, right on. Yeah,
that'll be my homework.
I've seen all 3 of yours. I'll have to go check one of those out for a rewatch.
All right.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Hey, folks, just a quick reminder to head over to silveredgefitness.com and take our new metabolism quiz to find out if you are a fat storer or a fat burner. You can find that quiz at silveredgefitness.com right at the top of the page. Okay, that's our show for today, folks. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I want to let you know that we have other free resources over at silveredgefree.com. There, you'll find our free guides with our top tips on nutrition, exercise, and healthy lifestyle to assist you in your weight loss and fitness journey. So feel free to head over there and download anything that looks useful to you. I'll put links to everything we talked about in the show notes. You folks can find those over at silveredgefitness.com/284. As we wrap up our time together today, you can show your support for this show in two important ways. The first is to tell a friend about this podcast and encourage them to give it a listen. The second is for you YouTube folks to please click the like and subscribe buttons, and for you podcast folks to please give this podcast a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, and be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today, and until next time, stay strong.